Welcome to Daily News Analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy Civilspedia team. Today's date is 25th July 2024 and I am Bharti Ilungovan to discuss the list of news articles displayed right before you. So without further delay, we will step into the first news article for today. The first discussion for today is going to start with an editorial on The Hindu regarding the urban transformation strategies. Recent budget has mentioned about the initiatives that will be taken for the development of cities as the growth hubs by creating employment opportunities and improving the infrastructure in a sustainable manner. The topic urbanization, their problem and remedies comes under the GS1. So, analyzing the PYQ, we can find topics like smart cities mission, rural urban integration and the problem arising because of the urbanization like the flooding, air pollution. Questions like what will be the implications, that is socio-economic implication and employment opportunity that will be created because of IT hubs in the urban areas. All these questions have popped up in the GS1 question paper in recent years. So with this in mind, let's have a holistic view about urbanization from the mains perspective. Let's start it simple. Let's understand what is urbanization. Urbanization is nothing but it is the population shift or the population increase from the rural areas to the urban areas due to various push and pull factors like growth, development and opportunities. According to the 2011 census, 31% of population lives in urban areas and it is projected to grow up to 40% of the total population by 2030. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs is the apex body for the regulation, coordination and policy intervention of any urban affairs. Also note that under the Ministry of Planning, Niti Aayog works together with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs for the smooth regulation and functioning of the urban affairs. I hope you have a clear understanding about this. So with this understanding, let's discuss about what are the challenges we face because of the urbanization. The first primary challenge because of the urbanization is the housing facilities. Housing facilities for the growing population is the biggest challenge. Without housing facilities, people might be pushed to stay in the congested adjustments like slums. The next challenge is the transportation facilities. Many people come in search of employment opportunity to urban cities. Without a proper road and transportation facilities, it will be difficult for the mobility of people living in the urban areas as well. Nextly, finding appropriate employment is a bigger task. Many people shift from rural to urban at least in search of very menial jobs such as street vendors, industrial workers and gig workers. Their dignity for right and need of work and other basic needs of living should be definitely ensured by the central and state authorities. The next challenge would be technology. We can see with the fast growing urbanization, it is also accompanied with the fast growing technology like digitalization of basic facilities like banking, food deliveries and also Aadhaar identification. So when people shift from rural to urban areas, they may face difficulties to adjust to the new change. Lack of digital literacy might be a big hurdle in this case. Other basic facilities like sewage treatment, water facilities, flood management, underground drainage system, environmental issues like loss of biodiversity, pollution, degradation of human health are also major concerns when it comes to urbanization. So on the whole, the major challenges would be in the stream of housing, transport, finding an employment, technology and sewage, water, etc. So without the intervention of state and models like public-private partnership, it is very difficult to live in urban cities without sustainable planning. So having discussed about the challenges we face because of the urbanization, let us see some important development schemes that are brought by the government to have a sustainable urbanization. So the first major issue we saw was housing. We saw housing is a major issue in urban areas. Schemes like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana has been announced to address this issue. This scheme is a centrally sponsored scheme that gives subsidy to provide affordable housing to low and moderate income families in the urban areas. Until now, almost 85 lakhs housing units are provided under this scheme. So recently, PM Awas Yojana Urban 2.0 has also been started, which aims to address the housing needs of almost 1 crore urban poor and middle class families. Housing facilities are also provided through viability gap funding. So what is viability gap funding? It means the gap, which is the shortage in funding, is met with centers fund. This scheme comes under the Ministry of Finance that provides financial assistance or grants of up to 40% for infrastructure project. Example, in the recent budget, dormitory type of accommodation for industrial workers is provided under the scheme of viability gap funding. To facilitate the transportation, recent budget has also announced electric mobility promotion scheme and e-bus to support a green mobility. Programs like Gati Shakti aims to boost the India's economic growth by improving transportation and logistic infrastructure, which includes railways, roads, ports and waterways. For addressing the basic facilities which are required by the urban people, schemes like AMRUT, which is abbreviated as the Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation Scheme, has been announced. It is a centrally sponsored scheme under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. It provides basic urban infrastructure such as water supply, sewage treatment, stormwater management, green spaces and parks for the people. In the new budget, the scheme has been revised as the AMRUT 2.0 to provide universal coverage of water supply through functional taps and also for the effective sewage management. Added to that, central assistance is also provided under the Swachh Bharat mission for the management of sewage waste in the urban areas. In the urban areas under the solid waste management rules of Pollution Control Board. To improve the digitalization, schemes like National Urban Digital Mission has been established for the digitalization of tax records and GIS mapping. We also saw informal workers are high in number in the urban areas. So, acts like Street Vendors Act 2012 has been enacted by the Parliament of India to regulate the street vendors in public areas and protect their rights. So, this budget has also proposed to develop weekly HUDs, which is the street food hubs in selected cities for the employment generation. So, in this discussion, we saw what is urbanization, what are its challenges and how the government has taken initiatives to address this. So, with this, we will conclude this discussion and move on to the next article. The next article that we are going to discuss today is about the typhoon named Gaemi that has brought flood and landslide at the Philippines, which is a Southeast Asian country. So, for this article, you can refer page 14 of The Hindu. See, tropical cyclone is an important topic in prelims, GS mains as well as geography optional paper. On this backdrop, let's try to understand about the tropical cyclone. So what is a cyclone? Cyclone is nothing but it is a large air mass which rotates around a strong low atmospheric center. Note that it is a low atmospheric center. It majorly occurs around 5 degree to 30 degree north and south of the equator, which is mostly a tropical zone. They are known by different names in different regions. For example, it is known as hurricane in the Atlantic region. In the Western Pacific and the South China Sea, it is known as the typhoon, as we have seen in this article heading. It is known as the Willy Willy at the region of Western Australia. And lastly, in the Indian Ocean, it is known as the tropical cyclone. Kindly make a note of this difference. The cyclone rotates clockwise in the southern hemisphere and counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. This is a major difference you have to know about it. So, with this basic understanding about what tropical cyclone is, let's try to find out what are the general conditions which are required for the formation of tropical cyclone. First, the temperature. An ideal temperature of about 27 degrees Celsius is very important for the formation of tropical cyclone. This temperature is usually found at the tropical areas. Second, a low pressure zone is required for the formation of a tropical cyclone. Third, the depth of the water is very important. It's because if the water body is shallow, then it can get heat rapidly and attain the ideal temperature, which is 27 degrees Celsius, which is required for the formation of tropical cyclones. Next, warm ocean currents are also supporting the formation of tropical cyclones. So, ocean currents are nothing but they are constant directional movements of water of the ocean. Let's say if there is a presence of cold ocean currents like the Peru current and the Benguela current. If there is a cold ocean currents, it will not help in achieving the ideal temperature required for the formation of tropical cyclones. So, the presence of cold ocean currents are the major reasons why there is no tropical cyclone formation in the southern Atlantic region. The next factor required for the formation of tropical cyclone is the Coriolis force. Coriolis force is nothing but a force which is formed due to the rotation of Earth. This force plays a major role in the rotation of cyclone. Note that there is no cyclone over the equator because the Coriolis force is zero there. Next, moisture supply is an important factor for the formation of tropical cyclone. This is the reason why these are formed over the seas and not land. The land does not provide the moisture which is required for the formation of tropical cyclones. Next, there should be less vertical wind shear because vertical wind shear can disrupt the formation of the structure of cyclone. Talking about the structure of cyclone, the cyclone consists of a center eye. It is a calm region of a cyclone which has a thin line of subsiding air. Next is the eye wall. The eye wall consists of a ring of tall rain-bearing clouds that will produce heavy rain. Next, rain band is also included in the structure of tropical cyclone. It is curved band of clouds and thunderstorms that trail away from the eye wall in a spiral fashion. These bands are capable of producing heavy bursts of rain and wind. So on this topic, there was a PYQ like why there is a prevalence of tropical cyclone in the region of Bay of Bengal, Gulf of Mexico and South China Sea. So you can connect these factors what we have already seen like the temperature, low pressure, the depth of the water, warm ocean currents and the Coriolis force to these region and write your answers. For example, monsoon rainfall in the Bay of Bengal and South China Seas are experienced in the monsoon season. So this rainfall will bring in the moisture to the region. As we have already seen, the moisture supply is an important factor for the tropical cyclone. Thus, this monsoon rainfall will help in the formation of tropical cyclones. Similarly, connect every point to this region and give an answer. Let me give another example. Coastal structures like delta, island, coastline help in funneling the wind, therefore creating a low pressure. We have already seen low pressure is a prerequisite for a formation of tropical cyclones. Thus, this will also help in formation of tropical cyclones. So with this, we are concluding the discussion of this article on typhoons and now let's move on to the next article. So the next article we are going to discuss today is about the UNSC. So this article is on the page 4 of the Hindu. So why it's in the news? See, actually 2 former UN ambassadors of India made a statement that there is no progress in the expansion of the UNSC. So on this backdrop, let's try to understand about the UNSC. So this international organization topic comes under the GS2. The United Nations actually consists of 6 major organs, such as the General Assembly, Security Council, Economic and the Social Council, a Secretariat and International Court of Justice and lastly Trusteeship Council. So to our focus for today is going to be on the Security Council. So this is a body which consists of about 15 members, among which 10 are non-permanent and 5 are permanent members. The primary responsibility of this body is to maintain international peace and stability. So each permanent member of the UNSC will have the veto power. Talking about the objectives of UNSC, according to the UN Charter, United Nations has 4 purposes. First, to maintain international peace and security. Second, to develop friendly relations among the nations. Thirdly, they have the objective to cooperate in solving international problems and in promoting respect for human rights. And lastly, the 4th objective of UNSC is to be a center for harmonizing the action of nations. These are the objectives of UNSC. So now let's try to understand what is the relationship between India and the UN. See, India is one of the founding and active members of the United Nations. Till today, India has been part of 49 out of 71 UN peacekeeping missions. And India is the 3rd largest contributor to the UN Democracy Fund, which is used for the promotion of civil rights. India has also made significant contribution to the international community in the field of medicine and ensuring peace and security. So having discussed about the relationship between UN and India, Actually, India is trying to get a permanent membership in UN for so long. This question of why India is trying to get a permanent membership in UN and what has inhibited it from acquiring it has been asked in the previous years. So let's try to understand why we need a permanent membership in the UNSC. Firstly, we need to reform the UNSC. The 5 members in the UNSC are nuclear superpowers with the ability to control the global order. Therefore, with the privilege of veto, the UNSC is becoming very powerful. So, it is a need of hour to India becoming a permanent member in UNSC. So, having membership in the UN can enhance India's ability in conflict resolution. India can contribute in action against climate change and nuclear proliferation, because these areas are still puzzling due to differences in opinion. So by becoming a member of UNSC, permanent member of UNSC, we can improve our economic and regional growth. Let's say if India gets into UNSC as a permanent member, it can solidify its position as a major power. Therefore, we can attract investment and also resolve regional problems. We can also bring the voice of Global South in the mainstream. We know recently India organized G20 meeting and currently unofficial leadership of Global South. Therefore, India can bring the voice of Global South in the UNSC forum. So, we have discussed these are the reasons why India wants to be a permanent member of the UN. So, what is the reason? What are the reasons which are inhibiting India from getting a permanent membership in the UNSC? See, firstly, to get a permanent membership to the UNSC, a nation should secure 2/3 of the majority of General Assembly and a consent of 5 UNSC members. So, in the case of India, getting consent from the 5 permanent members is a great challenge for us. Also, the foreign policy of India is non-alignment, but this is not acceptable for major powers such as USA. So, this is standing as a great challenge for us. So, India's foreign policy is a great legacy. In this scenario, India can continue its voice for reform of UNSC along with the support of other nations to fight against the elite oligarchy of the UNSC permanent 5 members. So, till that, India can continue to maintain a friendly relation with the superpowers to maintain the stability. So, in this article, we discussed what is UN, what are its organs, about the UNSC, its objectives, also what are the challenges faced by India in getting a permanent membership. So, with this, we have concluded the discussion and let's move on to the next article. The next article we are going to discuss for today is given in the Indian Express newspaper. So why it is in the news? The recent economic survey highlights the issue of climate change and proposes new approaches including changes in lifestyle and behavior to cut down the greenhouse gas emission. As you see this article, this comes with the heading Mitigation versus Adaptation. So let's try to understand what is mitigation. Mitigation includes action to reduce or prevent the emission of greenhouse gases with the goal of slowing down or stopping the climate change. So in simple terms, it is about addressing the root cause of the climate change. On the other hand, let's try to understand what adaptation is. Adaptation means making adjustment to social, economic and environmental practices to minimize the damage caused by the impact of climate change. It is nothing but we are going to cope up with the effects that are already happening or expected to happen. Let me give an analogy to understand the difference between the mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation is like taking a vaccine to prevent the disease, but adaptation is nothing but taking the tablet after you got the disease. Mitigation strategies include reducing fossil fuel usage by switching it to renewable energy resources or enhancing the energy efficiency in homes as well as industries, promoting reforestation to absorb the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. While the adaptation strategies include building flood defenses to protect the communities from the rising sea levels, developing a drought-resistant crop to ensure food security, improving infrastructure to withstand the extreme weather events. I hope you would have understood the difference between what mitigation is and what adaptation is. We saw the economic survey has mentioned about the issues of climate change and how to tackle it. So when it comes to climate change, the reports given by the IPCC, which is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, is very important. So let's see what are the key takeaways from the recent report of IPCC. See, the upcoming data are very important that you can quote in your answer sheets. So kindly make a note of it. The IPCC reports say greenhouse gas emission will lead to increasing global warming in the near term, and it is likely this will reach 1.5 degrees centigrade between 2030 and 2035. The world is currently at around 1.1 degree centigrade of warming, and the current climate policies are projected to increase global warming by 3.2 degrees centigrade by 2100. To keep within the 1.5 Celsius limit, emissions need to be reduced by at least 43% by 2030 compared to 2019 levels and at least 60% by 2035. The report points out that the humanity had already consumed 4/5 of its total carbon budget for the 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2019, with the developed economies consume major share. Note that the developed economies are consuming the major share than the developing countries. Now, let's try to understand what will be the impact of this climate change on India. The most significant implication of the report for India are the increased frequency and the intensity of extreme weather events. India have a very large vulnerable population. India needs to prioritize grants and policies that focus on adapting to the effects of climate change. On the whole, India has to prioritize to minimize the loss and damage in terms of lives, livelihood and biodiversity, and has to accelerate equitable action on mitigation as well as adaptation. With this, we have concluded the discussion for this article, and now let's move on to the next one. This news article is about the mpox, abbreviated as the monkeypox. So you can refer this article in the science page of The Hindu. What happened is that the mpox outbreak happened at the Congo. Since last year there were almost 27,000 cases and over 1,100 deaths, who are mostly children. First, let's try to understand what monkeypox is. Monkeypox is a zoonotic disease, which means it is transmitted from an infected animal to the human. As the name suggests, this disease is caused by the monkeypox virus. So this monkeypox virus has been detected in animals such as squirrel, Cambian rats, dormice and even in some species of monkey. Talking about the origin, it was first discovered in 1958 following 2 outbreaks of a pox-like disease in the colonies of monkeys which were kept for research. So this led to the name monkeypox. The first case was recorded in 1970 in the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. The exact natural reservoir of the virus is actually unknown, but African rodents and monkeys are suspected to be the primary sources of transmission and infection. According to the World Health Organization, cases generally occur near the tropical rainforest where animals carry the virus live. The WHO identifies 2 different clades, which are groups of monkeypox, one being the West African clade and another Congo Basin clade. So now let's see about the mode of transmission of monkeypox. So it can occur through contact with bodily fluids, skin lesions. Lesions means injuries, and also the mucosal surface of the mouth and throat. Mucosal surface is the inner lining. It can also spread through respiratory droplets and contaminated objects. But note that human to human transmission is relatively limited in this case. Next, let's differentiate between the monkeypox and the smallpox, as they can be easily confused with each other. So monkeypox disease is caused by the monkeypox virus, whereas smallpox is caused by the virus named variola virus. The smallpox has severe symptoms including high fever, severe fatigue and a characteristic rash. On the other hand, monkeypox show symptoms similar to smallpox, but generally they are very less severe. When it comes to transmission, as we have already discussed earlier, monkeypox is a zoonotic disease transmitted from animals to humans. Human to human transmission is less efficient here. But in smallpox, it primarily spread through prolonged face-to-face contact and through respiratory droplets. It is highly contagious in case of smallpox. The monkeypox cases are occurring still in Central and West Africa, and it also occasionally appears elsewhere. There is no widespread vaccination program for monkeypox. On the other hand, smallpox is eradicated worldwide by 1980 through a successful global vaccination campaign. With this, we have concluded the discussion for this article, and now let's move on to the next one. This news article is about the Chinese scientists have discovered the water molecules in the lunar soil samples brought back by the Chang'e 5 mission. They have found water molecules on the moon. Interesting, right? Considering prelims, we need to definitely learn about some important international space missions. So let's discuss Chang'e 5 mission of China. So this is a lunar sample return mission which is launched by China National Space Administration on 2020. So it landed on the Mons Rumker, which is nothing but a vast volcanic plain on the surface of moon. The most significant thing about this mission is that it is the first mission to bring back lunar samples back to the Earth in over 40 decades. This name Chang'e is named after the Chinese moon goddess Chang'e. Now let's see what are the key findings of this Chang'e 5 mission. So they found a hydrated mineral enriched with water molecule in the lunar soil samples written by the Chang'e 5 mission in 2020. This hydrated mineral looked like a transparent crystal and it was named as the unknown lunar mineral. This contained the water molecule. Kindly note that this discovery of water molecule is not the first time. Actually, our India's Chandrayaan-1 mission detected the signs of hydrated mineral on the moon way back in 2009. Even in 2020, NASA announced that there is a water on moon's sunlit surface. Having discussed about this, now let's discuss other moon missions taken over by China. Chang'e 4 mission. This mission landed on the crater named Von Kramon in the south pole of the moon in 2019. Chang'e 4's rover, named as U-2-2, became the first rover to successfully soft land on the moon's far side. You may have a question, what is far side? It is the side of the moon which never faces the Earth. Let me explain. The same side of the moon always faces the Earth because moon takes same amount of time to complete an orbit around the Earth and also same time to rotate around its own axis, which is approximately about 27 days. Next, we'll discuss about the Chang'e 6 mission. This mission is launched at 2024. It is the 6th lunar exploration mission by China and the 2nd lunar sample return mission by China. So what's the first lunar sample mission? Think about it. Yeah, you're right. It is the Chang'e 5. That's the news today, right? So one landmark thing we can feel proud about being an Indian is that we are the first country in 2023 to land near the South Pole region. The Chandrayaan-3's lander carrying the Pragyan rover successfully landed there. With this, we have concluded the discussion for this article, and now let's move on to the next one. Now, we are going to move to the next part of the video, which is MCQ. Feel free to pause the video and try answering the question. The first question is, let me read out the question for you. With respect to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, consider the following statements. 1. It is an intergovernmental body of UN that publishes assessment report once in every 5 years. Second statement is, it was established by the United Nations General Assembly and the World Meteorological Organization in 1988. Participation in the IPCC is open to all member countries of WMO and the UN. Which of the following statement given above are correct? The answer is A, 3 only. The next question is, which one of the following is an objective of Smart Lander for investigating moon mission? The options are, it aims to search for signs of water ice on the moon surface. B, it aims to deploy a network of seismic sensor for understanding lunar structure. C, it aims to test and demonstrate new technologies for future lunar missions. And D, it aims to collect and analyze lunar soil sample for resource potential. The answer is C. SLIM, which is the Smart Lander for Investigating Moon, is Japan's first lunar surface mission. The primary objective of this mission is to demonstrate a highly accurate lunar soft landing. The third question for today's discussion is with reference to monkeypox, consider the following statement. 1. It occurs primarily in tropical rainforest areas of Central and West Africa. 2. Monkeys are the natural host of the virus. Which of the statement given above is or correct? The answer is A. Statement 1 is correct. Monkeypox is a viral zoonotic disease that occurs primarily in the tropical rainforest of Central and West Africa. But statement 2 is incorrect because the natural host of the virus remains undefined, but the disease have been reported in many animals. So the last question for today is, consider the following statements. 1. The World Food Programme is a key initiative to provide food to crisis-hit regions. 2. It was founded by the FAO and the WHO, which is the World Health Organization. Which of the above statements are correct? The correct answer is option A, 1 only. Statement 2 is incorrect because World Food Programme was founded by FAO and the UN General Assembly in 1961, and the headquarters for the World Food Programme is in Rome, Italy. With this, we have come to the end of today's video. If you like the video, hit like button and share it with your friends.